stripped of flesh, of mortality, even of their souls, the Necrontier passed from history. Only the Necrons remained.
Hello and welcome to another marvelous video. In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. Yes, those familiar with that line know that today's video is about the legendary tabletop miniature game Warhammer 40k. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, mechanical terminators roam, seeking to conquer the galaxy while humans venerate an ancient deceased figure from millennia past. Few fictional universes can evoke a feeling of dark and fantastical despair as effectively as Warhammer 40k does. Simultaneously, this backdrop provides an ideal context for epic characters and battles to unfold without restraint. This video will discuss a humanoid robot race that is both ancient and possesses significantly advanced technology compared to most species in the Warhammer 40k universe. We're talking about the Necrons. You can visualize Necrons as space terminators who worship the Catan gods who control their mechanical condition and most machines. Their technology simply outperforms that of any other race in the Warhammer 40k lore. Similar to many factions in the Warhammer 40k universe, the Necrons' ultimate goal is the extermination of all rival factions and complete dominion over every part of the galaxy. However, this ambition is a gradual process, requiring them to be reawakened from their ancient slumber in order to engage in the fight for their cause actively. Get ready for an immersive journey as we delve deep into the lore of these almost invincible and eternal automatons from the fascinating world of Warhammer 40k. Buckle up! Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Redemption. And for those who prove worthy.
Necrons' appearance and physical traits. The Necrons, descendants of the Necrontier, are a faction of mechanical warriors who have remained in a state of dormancy within their stasis tombs in their realm, which they refer to as the Infinite Empire for an astonishing 60 million years. Their ancient origins surpass even those of the Eldar, but now, after this extended slumber, they are finally stirring, driven by the desire to reclaim the dominance of the Necron dynasties over the galaxy once again. The Necrons mock the living with their skeletal look, mechanical limbs exuding whirling green energy, and frightening emerald eyes without a trace of light. Their internal organs contain a fluid that resembles blood and prevents overheating. Necrons are eternal entities with superior strength and endurance than organics in terms of physical characteristics. Necrons possess robotic counterparts that closely resemble their former organic body parts. Oculars are used in place of their eyes, while auditory transducers are used in place of their ears. They also have necrodermis in place of skin, and death masks or faceplates cover their faces. Even though they still go by the same moniker, their rib cages now protect an internal energy reactor rather than vital organs. They also have shoulder guards or plates on their bodies and armor. High-ranking Necrons like overlords may issue instructions to their troops thanks to their command nodes that extend from their shoulder guards. Every Necron possesses highly advanced auto-repair systems integrated into their exoskeletal structure, capable of mending even the most severe damages. This perpetual self-repair process ensures their continuous functionality. However, if they encounter irreparable harm, the Necron undergoes a process known as phasing out. During this event, both their mind and body are teleported to the nearest tomb complex. There, they are stored until repairs can be carried out or until a new body is constructed for them. Nevertheless, this act of transference comes with a price. With each occurrence of phasing out, the Necron's engrams, which contain their essence and memories, deteriorate. Consequently, those Necrons that have experienced death and phased out multiple times suffer the most, as they gradually transform into little more than automatons. They lose the memories of the beings they once were in their past lives. Another fascinating aspect is their possession of chronosense, a remarkable ability that enables them to manipulate the speed of their perception of time.
Thirsty. Scour them clean. This is my hour.
The history of Necrons in Warhammer 40k. Origins. Many millennia in the past, even before humanity had begun its early developments, the Necrons had already established a vast and far-reaching dominion across the galaxy. However, they faced a devastating and apocalyptic conflict with the Old Ones, an equally ancient and immensely powerful race, who were the original shapers of the Stardust in the universe. This war nearly eradicated the Necrons. After a prolonged period of dormancy, the Necrons have now started to reawaken, rising once more to reclaim their lost kingdoms and territories. Initially, the Necrons were an organic species known as the Necrontyr, who lived on a planet ruled by a sickly star that radiated fatal radiation. Life on this planet was both problematic and fleeting. The limited knowledge gathered by the Imperium of Man regarding the Necrontyr reveals the grim reality of their existence. Their lives were short and fraught with uncertainty, plagued by debilitating cancers and other illnesses caused by the high levels of ionizing radiation emitted by their sun. Necrontyr cities were designed with the expectation of their inhabitants' premature demise. The living were regarded as transient occupants dwelling in the shadow of vast sepulchres and tombs dedicated to their ancestors. Their ruling dynasties were established with the understanding of mortality. They viewed the living as temporary occupants who swiftly passed through the more enduring and lasting structures built to honor the deceased. On the Necrontyr homeworld, the grandest monuments were always constructed for the dead, while the living received no such recognition. This ongoing fight with mortality provided a powerful motive for the Necrontyr to advance technologically, hoping to escape their poisoned homeworld someday. As a result, they broke free from their imprisoning crucible and embarked on a journey through the cosmos, aiming to establish an empire where they could unlock their species' true potential without the deadly energies of their birth star. War in Heaven. Following centuries of interstellar travel, during which they expanded their dominion and established colonies, the Necrontyr eventually built a vast empire. However, internal conflicts and civil wars plagued the empire on such a massive scale that a decision was made to unite the warring factions by providing them with a common adversary. A groundbreaking plan was devised under the leadership of the last of the Silent Kings, Sarek, who commanded the Triarch of the Necrontyr Empire. This plan would alter the course of history and have far-reaching consequences reverberating for countless millions of standard years. The chosen enemy became the Old Ones, a species characterized by their exceptionally long lifespans, highly advanced technology, and formidable psychic powers. The Old Ones' denial to share the secrets of immortality served as a weak pretext for war, leading to conflicts of unprecedented scale that made present-day disputes seem insignificant. Although the Necrontyr possessed considerable technological expertise, they faced repeated defeats at the hands of the vastly superior Old Ones due to the latter's mastery over webway portals and warp gates. Whole fleets were decimated, armies were routed, and the war raged on. The once expanding empire of the Necrontyr was forced to retreat, ultimately confined to their homeworld in what historians would later refer to as the War in Heaven. For millennia, the Necrontyr endured the harsh radiation of their homeworld once again, as they remained trapped in a state of suffering and confinement. Their relationship with the Catan. The existence of the present-day Necrons owes much to the intervention of the Catan. These star gods, inconceivably ancient, traversed the universe in prehistoric times, back when planets and their inhabitants were yet formless masses influenced by newly formed suns. During that era, they were the earliest sentient and self-aware beings in the cosmos, functioning almost like parasites, consuming stars in distant corners of the universe. They indulged in this feeding for centuries until, by pure coincidence, they crossed paths with a Necrontyr's stellar probe, marking the beginning of their first contact. The Necrontyr believed these star gods were incarnations of their own pantheon of death gods. This notion, though false, enabled the Catan to exploit their newly devoted followers, who willingly submitted to their influence. This newfound alliance brought forth numerous marvels, as it was now assumed that the power of the stars belonged to them, offering the promise of immortality at last. As a result, the Necrontyr constructed immense conversion centers to elevate and unify their people into supposedly undying bodies, as the Catan had promised. Little did they know that they were being deceived. Thus, a Catan entity known as the Deceiver had an audience with Sarek, the Silent King and ruler of the Triarch. The Deceiver made an enticing offer to the Silent King, promising him both immortality and the power to defeat the Old Ones, whom the Catan claimed to seek revenge against, having been defeated by them as well in the past. They presented this offer as one ally to another, seeking to unite against a common enemy. Over the course of a year, the Triarch and their court court deliberated internally on the C'tan's proposition, with Orokin the Diviner, the court astrologer, being the sole voice in opposition. Despite Orokin's warnings, Sarek eventually succumbed to the alluring words of the deceiver, dismissing the astrologer's concerns due to his eagerness to unify the Necron tier and finally achieve immortality.
By the ambition of Zarek, the Silent King, they were dragged in chains to the fires of biotransference, transmuted from fragile and radiation-cursed bodies to forms more suited for the ravages of
The process of biotransference. According to the C'tan, the Necron tier's sole path to genuine immortality was through the gruesome procedure of biotransference. This process involved billions of individuals forsaking their mortal bodies to adopt the cold necrodermis endoskeleton, whether willingly or not. It is unknown how exactly this change took place over history, but it is known that every Necron tier that entered one of the enormous biofurnaces left as a clanging, emotionless machine. Only a few of them were left unified in an inflexible hive mind after their identity and individuality were removed. That's how the soulless machines known as the Necrons were born due to the biotransference process, becoming a race of cold and emotionless beings far removed from their former selves as the Necron tier. Vengeance. The Necrons began a deliberate effort to eliminate the old ones after assuming their new invulnerable forms to exact retributions for previous wars and long-standing grievances. The Necrons were outfitted with terrible planet-destroying weapons and were helped by their new allies, the C'tan, making them appear unbeatable in their pursuit. The conflict that followed was so fierce that it seriously damaged the warp, allowing horrific monsters and daemons from the Immaterium to manifest and wreak devastation. The old ones were ultimately vanquished despite significant casualties on both sides and internal turmoil among the C'tan. Despite the old ones' best efforts and the development of new species like the Krorks and an early progenitor of the Eldari to combat the threat, they finally dispersed into deep space, seemingly extinct. During the concluding phases of the War in Heaven, Sarek patiently awaited the opportune moment when the C'tan would be at their weakest. With the old ones finally vanquished, the Silent King seized the chance and led a rebellion of the Necrons against the arrogant C'tan. Harnessing the unimaginable energies of the living universe, the Necrons forged weapons of unparalleled might, overpowering even the formidable C'tan. Though the C'tan were nearly impossible to obliterate due to their inherent nature, they were shattered into shards instead. The Great Sleep. The Silent King understood that the time for the Necrons to rule the galaxy had passed, at least temporarily, after the defeat of the Old Ones and C'tan. The Eldar, who had participated in the War in Heaven with the Old Ones, were prepared to assume control of the galaxy. The War in Heaven and the uprising against the C'tan had left the Necrons defenseless against the Eldar's power, but the Silent King was aware that, like all living things, the Eldar's time would also inevitably come to an end. In response to this understanding, the Silent King issued an order to transform the remaining Necron cities into elaborate tomb complexes interlaced with stasis crypts. The Necrons were to enter a deep slumber, resisting for 60 million years, and then awaken to rebuild what had been lost and restore their dynasties to their former grandeur. But the Silent King didn't slumber with his people in this endless sleep. Instead, he purposefully violated the command laws governing his people and left the galaxy, looking for comfort or atonement elsewhere. This period is known as the Great Sleep.
With the awakening of their Therion, Kefrek the Unbroken, the Neferu dynasty arises once more.
The Great Awakening. As time progressed, numerous tomb worlds faced malfunctions or misfortune. Additionally, some of these worlds were ravaged and destroyed by marauding Eldar. These unfortunate events led to the demise of millions, if not billions, of dormant Necrons on those affected tomb worlds. As the tomb worlds began to reawaken, it was not a synchronized event. Some emerged during the Great Crusade, while others stirred during the Age of Apostasy. The majority, however, experienced their reawakening in the later years of M41. Despite this, billions of Necrons still remained in their dormant state, awaiting reactivation. The Imperium is unaware that if the Necrons were to awaken and unite fully, they would be confronted by a force as vast and numerous as their own. Presently, the Imperium has only glimpsed the Necrons' might, and it is fortunate for humanity that the Necrons are currently divided by madness and conflicting objectives. Nonetheless, these divisions are merely the initial steps of a formidable force as it gains momentum. In 744 M41, the Silent King ended his self-imposed exile and re-entered the galaxy after encountering the Tyranids within the intergalactic void. However, he soon realized that the Tyranids were just one of numerous threats that posed a danger to the Necrons. Other alien races had invaded their tomb worlds, and the warp's influence now permeated across the entire galaxy. In response, the Silent King traveled alongside a group of loyal Triarch Praetorians across the galaxy. Their mission was to reawaken dormant tomb worlds, uniting them to stand against the Tyranid menace. To maintain secrecy, the returned Silent King concealed his true identity, even from fellow Necrons. Instead, he primarily operated through Triarch Praetorians or unwitting cryptechs and Necron overlords to achieve his goal, exerting steady influence from one end of the galaxy to the other. Patiently working from the shadows, he meticulously pursued his grand plan. His ultimate objective was to unite the Necrons against the Tyranids and simultaneously manipulate the younger races to serve his designs. The initial encounter between the Necrons and the Imperium of Man was recorded in 897 M41 during the raid on Sanctuary 101. The report mentioned that the invaders seemingly appeared from the very ground itself, giving rise to speculation about their origins. Following the creation of the Great Rift, the Necrons expedited their actions against the Immaterium by establishing the Pariah Nexus, further advancing their plans against the Warp. Necrons today. In the present era, the Necrons remain an enigmatic and elusive presence in the galaxy rather than a fully established force. They strike without warning, appearing out of nowhere, inflicting widespread destruction and swiftly vanishing before significant reinforcements can respond. The reason behind these various attacks and their underlying motives remains unknown. However, it is evident that the current Necron forces in the galaxy are merely soul harvesters, lacking the full-fledged capabilities of the Catan. They have the unsettling capacity to attack out of nowhere, showing up unannounced and at any place in the galaxy, no matter how well defended it might be. For example, they sometimes manage to get past the Imperial Navy forces manning the Sol system to reach Mars. These occurrences have caused some people to question Terra's self-declared impregnability. The Necrons successfully reached the surface of the Red Planet and ventured into its subterranean Noctis Labyrinthus, possibly in search of one of their Catan masters, rumored to be the entity known as the Dragon of Mars in the legends of the Adeptus Mechanicus. However, their expedition was thwarted, and the agents of the Imperium eradicated. The Imperium of Man is very afraid of this occurrence, even though it is a closely guarded secret, since they are worried that the Necrons would awaken the Void Dragon, a being that is said to be a Catan and that lives in a stasis tomb under the Martian dunes. Moreover, the Imperium has thus far failed in its attempts to capture a live Necron and gain insight into their secrets. Entire Necron forces inexplicably disappear using their phase technology, and they always manage to take their dead with them, leaving no traces behind. The Necrons have kept their losses minimal since any fallen warriors can be repaired and reanimated at their respective tomb worlds. In cases where a Necron is entirely obliterated in battle, they are beyond phase-out or repair, but often so little remains that the scientists of living races have nothing substantial to study. There are hints that the Necrons may have partially invaded the Imperium. The Pariahs, their elite anti-psyker forces, are a hybrid of Necron and human mutant technology. According to certain Adeptus Mechanicus researchers, some 60 million years ago on Terra, the Necrons introduced the Pariah gene into the gene pool that would eventually give rise to the human race. Over time, the Pariah gene has appeared in the operatives of the Kulexis Temple, who serve as the specialized anti-psyker assassins within the Officio Assassinorum. However, there has been a notable decline in the inclusion of Necron Pariahs in Necron armies lately. The Ordo Xenos suspect these troops might not have demonstrated the effectiveness that Necron commanders had initially anticipated, leading to their gradual removal from the Necron Dynasties battle order. Necrons, Dynasties, and Technology, the hierarchy of dynasties. Instead of being governed by a single universal ruler, the Necrons adopt a rigid hierarchical system that effectively organizes their extensive Dark Empire into a formidable military force. Similar to their previous system of ruling nobles, they are divided into dynasties, each tracing its origins back to ancient Necron tier households. At the pinnacle of the Necron hierarchy are the Pharaohs, who rule over entire dynasties comprising numerous worlds. Below them are the overlords, responsible for governing clusters of tomb worlds within the domain of their respective pharaohs. Further down the hierarchy are the lords, each overseeing the affairs of a single tomb world. Both pharaohs and overworlds are assisted by a royal court composed of Necron lords and cryptechs. The size of a royal court indicates prestige and reflects the ruling noble's military might. Similar to the political intrigues seen in human societies, Necron courts are also filled with complex webs of political maneuvering and power struggles. Below the royal court are the war phalanxes of the the Necrons, which include core units like the Necron warriors, who form the backbone of any Necron legion, along with immortals and various war engines. Beneath these ranks are auxiliaries that act more as allies than full-fledged warriors. These auxiliaries consist of groups such as the Destroyer cults and Flayed Ones. In support of all these forces, vast numbers of fully autonomous canoptic constructs play their roles. Finally, at the bottom of this vast empire, captive Catan endure their existence, bound and utilized by their Necron overseers. Within the Necron dynasties, the ambitions and character traits of the nobles vary significantly. Some are driven by a desire for conquest or the extermination of lesser races, while others adopt a defensive stance and only retaliate when their territory is threatened. Another faction seeks to reverse biotransference by utilizing a younger organic race as hosts. Additionally, the enigmatic Destroyer cult fully embraces their mechanical nature and aims to purge the galaxy of all life. Furthermore, conflicts between different dynasties are not uncommon, as they may find themselves engaged in battles against each other. Numerous Necron dynasties have not yet fully awakened from the Great Sleep or suffered damage during their prolonged hibernation that spanned millions of years. The degree of a dynasty's awakening and the level of preservation it experienced during its slumber significantly impact its strength and scale. For instance, the Sautek dynasty, widely recognized as the most potent Necron dynasty, emerged from the Great Sleep almost entirely unscathed. Advanced technology. Necron technology is widely regarded as vastly superior compared to that of the Imperium of Man. This technological prowess is even more pronounced when a Catan shard is involved. As mentioned previously, following their encounters with Necron weaponry, the Catan entities were fractured into numerous fragments, scattering into thousands of pieces. These shards were subsequently confined within specialized devices called Tesseract Labyrinths, which served as both prisons and focal lenses for harnessing the immense powers of these godlike beings. The Necron warriors are highly diverse in combat forms, and their weaponry is both varied and incredibly lethal. It's common for just one or two of their ships to possess the power to decimate an entire fleet. One of their most formidable assets is their necrodermis skin, also known as living metal. Made from an element with an unknown origin and chemical composition, it boasts exceptional density and the ability to self-repair. It's common to witness a downed Necron soldier repairing itself before continuing its onslaught. To permanently neutralize them, overwhelming their regeneration capabilities is essential, yet even then they have the capability to teleport back to their tomb for repairs and re-emerge ready for battle once again. Moreover, a formidable Necron device called the Necron Pylon is observed on exceedingly rare occasions. This super heavy weapon is feared for its extraordinary power and its capacity to manifest anywhere on the battlefield. The Necrons are unrivaled masters of material technology, and their technological accomplishments appear almost magical to lesser races. Their skilled technocrats, known as Cryptex, possess the capability to manipulate matter at its fundamental level, employing mysterious concepts such as temporal looping, subatomic infusion, and phase gates. Among their arsenal, several superweapons like the Celestial Orrery and World Engine possess the ability to devastate entire galaxies. The standard soldiers of the Necron are armed with a formidable arsenal, particularly Gauss weapons that can disintegrate an enemy's atoms layer by layer, providing the Necrons with an awe-inspiring level of firepower. Their anti-gravity war machines are designed for invasion and instilling terror, equipped with terrifying energy weaponry and other enigmatic abilities like wormholes. Additionally, the Necrons extensively use canoptic constructions, a class of non-sentient robots that were responsible for looking after their tomb worlds throughout the Great Sleep. The Necrons possess a substance called Blackstone, renowned for its ability to nullify the powers of the warp. This trait makes them a natural enemy of chaos, and Blackstone has become highly sought after and valuable throughout the galaxy. Notably, Blackstone was utilized in constructing the Cadian pylons, instrumental in restraining the power of the Eye of Terror. Additionally, the Necrons can employ their advanced technology to create concealed sub-dimensional reality pockets that exist outside of real space. These realms are linked to tomb worlds through reality tethers. The Necrons can establish strongholds within these dimensions. They have the capability of designing these dimensions in such a way that only they or their loyal followers can access or inhabit them. Marvelous verdict. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this video. The Necrons, as depicted in the Warhammer 40k lore, present a captivating and intricate faction. They possess an ancient, potent, and enigmatic nature, with their motivations remaining partially shrouded in mystery. Nonetheless, they are imposing and formidable. Their vast technological mastery and immortal armies make the Necrons a severe menace to the galaxy, instilling a significant sense of threat and concern. The Necrons have initiated their awakening from an extended slumber, and steadily, they are reconstructing their empire. What lies ahead when the Necrons fully awaken remains a mystery to us all. Will they rise to become a dominant force in the galaxy's affairs, or will the forces of the Imperium thwart their ambitions? What do you think? Let us know in the comments section down below, and if you liked the video, remember to hit that like button and share this video with all your Warhammer friends. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.